Let me ask you something real. Have you ever been in that place where you were showing up fully, being thoughtful, kind, consistent hand? Somehow, the more you gave, the more she pulled away. It feels like you're doing all the right things, like you're proving your value with every gesture. You plan dates, you check in, you listen closely, and you give her your best. But instead of drawing her closer, it's like your presence becomes invisible. It starts messing with your head. You sit there thinking, what am I doing wrong? You go over every word, every message, every moment, trying to find the crack. But what if the problem isn't what you're doing? What if it's the energy you're moving from? See, there's a certain type of man who doesn't chase. He doesn't need to. He doesn't try to win someone over through effort. His presence alone speaks. He's not cold or rude, but he's anchored. And women feel that. They don't respond to effort the way men think they do. They respond to presence. They respond to energy. When your attention is constantly reaching for her, trying to fix, to please, to maintain her interest, you lose polarity. And that's the moment she starts pulling back. But when you shift into your grounded self, when you stop trying to manage how she feels and just be, something changes. She stops analyzing you. She stops testing. She starts feeling a deep kind of trust, a quiet curiosity, a sense of safety that has nothing to do with protection and everything to do with how steady you are. It's not about pretending to be distant. It's about becoming so rooted in yourself that you're no longer reacting to her. Distance. The man she wants isn't the one who chases. It's the one who stands firm, who can be soft without being weak, who can be present without begging. That's the man she wants to lean into. And when you become that, effort becomes unnecessary. One of the most misunderstood traits of masculine power is silence. Not the kind of silence that comes from passivity or avoidance, but the kind that's rooted in calm certainty. Most men today are constantly explaining themselves why they said this, why they did that, what they meant, what they didn't mean. It's like every conversation becomes a courtroom, and they're trying to win the case. But here's the truth. When you're always explaining, justifying, or defending your every move, you slowly kill the very trust you're trying to build. A woman doesn't want to feel like you're trying to convince her of who you are. She wants to feel who you are. And she can't feel you clearly if you're constantly talking out of fear of being misunderstood. Masculine energy is strongest when it's intentional, when it moves slowly, deliberately, and without needing external validation. That's why stillness is so powerful. Not because it's mysterious, but because it's secure. And women are deeply attracted to emotional security. When you stop needing to explain every decision, when you stop oversharing in hopes of being accepted, she starts to feel a shift. You're no longer performing, you're just being. You say what you mean, and you let your actions handle the rest. That silence, that pause between words, that's where the tension builds. That's where she starts leaning in. She starts trying to understand you instead of analyzing you. When a man knows who he is, he doesn't need to be loud. He doesn't need to prove. His energy speaks before his mouth ever opens. So the next time you're tempted to over-explain yourself, stop, take a breath, let the silence carry the weight, and watch how the energy in the room shifts. Because when a woman feels like you're not trying to be understood, she starts wanting to understand you. And that's where real power begins. Masculine energy doesn't cling, it creates space. And in that space, something powerful happens. Desire has room to grow. Most men, when they feel a woman pulling away, do the opposite of what they should. They try to close the gap. They call more, text more, make themselves constantly available, hoping that by showing more presence, they'll win her back. But the truth is, constant closeness kills attraction. It smothers the very polarity that creates romantic tension. Feminine energy is drawn to mystery, not predictability. It wants to move toward, not be chased down. When you make yourself too available, too eager, too responsive, you signal that your world revolves around her. And while that might sound romantic, it actually drains your power. A woman doesn't want to be your purpose, she wants to witness your purpose in motion. She wants to feel like she's entering a life that's already alive, not becoming the center of it. So, when you create space, when you stop responding instantly, stop initiating every time, stop orbiting around her, you allow her energy to shift. That space invites her to feel your absence, and in that absence, she starts to realize your value. Emotional distance isn't about playing games. It's about reclaiming your center. It's about building your own rhythm, focusing on your path, nurturing your own energy so that your presence becomes something rare, not something she's just used to. Think of it like gravity. The planets don't chase the sun stands in stillness, and everything else is pulled toward it. So, instead of always being the one to text first, let her wonder. Instead of always being available, let her miss you. Instead of constantly checking in, let her feel your presence in your absence. When you do that, the dynamic shifts. She starts moving toward you not because you pushed, but because you pulled back. And that kind of space, that's where attraction breathes. That's where the chase flips. That's when she starts leaning in, not because you demanded it, but because she feels the weight of what you no longer give away for free. If you want her to trust your leadership, you have to start leading not with force, but with calm direction. One of the biggest mistakes men make is constantly speaking in questions. Is that okay with you? What do you want to do? Should we go here or there? While it may seem polite or collaborative, it actually weakens your presence. When a man constantly defers decisions, a woman starts to feel like she has to guide the energy. That role exhausts her feminine side. She stops relaxing into you and starts taking control not because she wants to, but because she has to. Masculine energy is directional. It's the energy of decision. And when you lead with calm clarity, you create a sense of safety she doesn't even know she's craving. You don't have to be controlling. You don't have to bark orders. It's much simpler than that. Just say, let's go here, or I've made reservations for us, or we'll leave at 7. When you speak with certainty, it puts her at ease. It gives her space to soften, to receive, to trust. The same principle applies when emotions are high, when she's upset, reactive, or overwhelmed. Most men either match her intensity and argue or completely shut down and disappear. Both responses damage trust. But the man who remains calm, grounded, and unshaken, that's the man who earns her surrender. Not by overpowering her, but by showing that he can hold space for her storm without getting pulled into it. Your calm is your power. It tells her nervous system, you're safe here. Not because you're emotionless, but because you're stable. That steadiness isn't loud, it's subtle. It's in your slower breathing, your measured tone, your still posture. That's the energy that makes her melt. Not manipulation, not bravado, just presence, just composure. That's the kind of masculine leadership that doesn't have to demand respect. It attracts it. And when she feels that, she starts relaxing, trusting, and opening not because you told her to, but because your energy made it natural. That's what real leadership looks like. That's what turns emotional chaos into connection. One boundary every man must have if he wants to be respected. Never tolerate what disrespects you. A lot of men think being strong means being unbothered, that ignoring disrespect makes them more mature. But here's the truth, when you allow passive aggression, games, or emotional manipulation to slide, you teach her that your energy is cheap. You teach her that you'll accept anything just to keep the peace, just to stay close. But real peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict, it comes from protecting your worth. A woman cannot fully respect a man who betrays himself for her approval. Every time you let a harsh tone, a guilt trip, or a boundary-crossing comment slide without addressing it, a little piece of your masculine presence fades, and she feels it. She may not say it out loud, but inside, her trust in your leadership weakens. Why? Because if you won't defend your own energy, how can she trust you to lead hers? You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to argue. You just need to make your standard clear, not in words, but in action. When something crosses the line, don't explain yourself endlessly. Don't beg her to understand. Just remove your energy, quietly, powerfully. Let your absence teach the lesson. That's when she realizes you're not trying to control her. But you won't let her control you either. And more than anything, be a man with a mission, something bigger than her, something that lights a fire in you with or without her. Woman loses interest when your life revolves around her. But when you're building something real, when you have vision, purpose, direction, she feels the pull. She doesn't want to be the center of your world. She wants to be chosen by a man who already has one. That's when she respects you. That's when she chases you. Not because you asked her to, but because she sees you standing so firmly in who you are. She has no choice but to be drawn in. And that is when everything changes.